Yakuza, or Lucky Dragon as it is called in Japan, has always produced a great share of well-written characters, as well as interesting villains. Yakuza 0 specifically takes this to another level by creating magnificent characters such as Kuze or Shibusawa. The character that I believe often don't get the recognition it deserves though is Tsukasa Sagawa. This character, which serves as one of the major villains / complicated allies to Majima throughout the campaign, plays a major role in many key points of the plot, and is quite symbolic throughout the story. So in this video I try to analyze and talk about the characteristics that Sagawa held and his problematic relationship with Majima when he was called Lord of the Night. This video contains the spoilers about the main story of Yakuza 0, so if you haven't finished the game yet, watch at your own risk. Tsukasa Sagawa, which is portrayed by Shingo Tsurumi, was a high-ranking member of Omi Alliance, an Osaka-based Yakuza family, and was also the retainer for the 5th chairman of the Omi Alliance, Jin Goda, and has a Yakuza family of his own named Sagawa family. He is from the Kansai region, which is a name given to south and central region of Japan's mainland, and includes prefectures of Nara, Wakayama, Kyoto, Osaka, Hyogo, and Shiga. Based on what we heard from Sagawa himself, he was a royal and well-behaved child in front of his parents, but always made sure to go with his plan in silence, like how he killed his parents' cat because his parents fed the cat his bird. It is not mentioned whether his parents were abusive against him or not, and not much is known about his earlier years when he was a child. Later on in his life, he joined the Yakuza organization, probably Omi Alliance, and started to slowly climb the ranks in this organization up until he was able to create his own family and become a retainer for the 5th chairman. Later on, he managed to become the owner of the Karat Grant. It is not known whether the grant belongs to him or he was given the authority of it by the Yakuza, but based on Sagawa's intellect, we can assume the first. However, the grant wasn't doing any good. The sales were not good, and the whole establishment was on the verge of destruction until Goro Majima showed up and took the management of the grant. This act was orchestrated by Shimano, Majima's boss, and its aim was to teach Majima a lesson. How Majima turned in Grant? It is because Shimano and Sagawa are sworn brothers and great friends. It is not known how Shimano and Sagawa actually met, but based on Shimano's Kansai accent and how the whole system of sworn brothers work in Yakuza world, they were either childhood friends like Nishiki and Kiryu, or met each other at prison like Saejima and Baba. And later on, Shimano, probably for reasons of his own, moved to Kanto region to further his plans, while Sagawa stayed in Osaka, and two maintained a good relationship with each other throughout the years. Majima endured 1 year of punishment and torture for his insubordination at the hands of Shimano, and after that he was given to Sagawa to further punish Majima. He always kept an eye on Majima so he won't leave the city on his own. Majima was given 1 year to make 100 million yen, or Sagawa would kill him. This proved to be a simple task for Majima, and Sagawa actually were supposed to reinstate Majima in Tojo clan after he acquired the 100 million yen. But for personal reasons, or perhaps on Shimano's order, Majima had to make another 500 million yen so that he may have a chance to return to Tojo clan, the Kanto-based Yakuza family. Meanwhile, Shimano ordered Sagawa to make Majima assassinate an individual named Makoto Makimura. Majima either had to agree on it, or spend yet another eternity working for him and making money. After finding out Majima somehow held the information about Makoto from him, he sent his men to kill him, and planted the bomb in Lee's car, one of the protectors of Makoto, and effectively killed Lee. While threatening to kill the hazed Majima and actually proceeding to do so, he gets shot by Sera, yet another Tojo clan member, and loses conscience. After beating Majima for information and also to show him who's in charge, he lets the poor fellow to Vander for information, and after they find out about the whereabouts of Sera from Nishitani, another Omi Alliance member, they plan to pay a friendly visit to Sera. After shooting Sera and finding information about Makoto, they decide to finally head to Tokyo to fulfill their plan. It's in Tokyo that we understand the true reason why Sagawa is insisting on killing of Makoto. In a meeting with his old brother Shimano, it is revealed that Shimano did expect that Majima won't be able to kill Makoto, and it was all his plan to acquire the land from Makoto and sell it to Omi Alliance. which would have been greatly beneficial to Sagawa. All their plans failed though, because of both Kiryu's actions and Majima's. And in order to save his skin, Shimano killed the head of the Omi Alliance headquarters, and in doing so, doomed Sagawa. At the final scene, we see him and Majima having a last smoke together, while Majima is dressed and ready to embrace his new lifestyle, while Sagawa, because of his failure in both acquiring the empty lot and failing to protect the head of the Omi Alliance headquarters, accepts his death at the hands of Omi Alliance members. He died by a gunshot while accepting his fate. The most important thing that Sagawa contributed to the story was his persistent and weird relationship with Majima. Let us analyze the meeting between these two. The first time we see these two in a meeting is in Grand, where these two talk with each other, and we realize that Sagawa is the owner of the Grand. He collects the cash and mentions to Majima that he still has money to pay, and also tries to put authority over him and mentions he will end up in hole again if he tries to punch Sagawa. Sagawa truly likes to implement his authority over other people and makes sure that Majima is following his orders by regularly checking on him. And in my opinion, since Majima is a good earner and a genius in this business, like how he turned that rude customer to a profit, Sagawa likes to keep him in Grand because, at the end of the day, he is making him rich. The second meeting, which is in the street food cart, we get a better look at Sagawa's character. In this meeting, Sagawa pours sake for Majima. In general, pouring sake for another person means trying to build a bond with someone, and Majima accepts, but he won't bump his glass with him, which means despite agreeing to a bond with Sagawa, he still doesn't want to commit to a fully fledged relationship, because after all, Majima has every right to do so. Sagawa then bumps a saying about money, and how despite trying expensive food from everywhere, this cheap street vendor's food is still the best. Which I think is meant to say that the feeling of money is a fleeting dream. And when we remember we are in the time of bubble economy, this even rings more true. And after he orders Majima to kill Makoto, he says that if you can continue life without killing, do it. Which in my opinion is Sagawa's attempt at convincing Majima to stay at Grand and continue his normal life with honest job and a good profit. But of course Majima refuses. I believe he truly meant everything he said in this conversation, but at the next scene, which is the car bombing, he seems quite angry that Majima failed to bond with him and tries to kill him. But after getting shot, the plan changes. This scene holds a major importance at the nature of the bond these two hold together. Sagawa tells him that he used to nurture a wounded bird behind his parents' back. But one day, without his knowledge, his parents fed their cat the bird. He says that a child can never outsmart their parents, which hints that Majima can never outsmart his bosses, whether it's Shimano or Sagawa. But very secretly, by telling how he killed the cat, he mentions that he must take action against what happened to him. There is also an interesting note here about this story. At first I thought the bird story was supposed to signify Makoto and how Majima tried to protect him behind Sagawa's back, and how it will lead to Makoto's death. But as I searched for the meaning behind the name Mametaro, the name Sagawa gave to the bird, I realized I might be mistaken. I may overthink this a little bit, but the name Mametaro in Japanese is apparently written with 3 different kanjis. But one of them holds the key to this puzzle. In this sense, the meaning behind the name is great, which could refer to elderly people of those of higher status, thick, for someone who is strong and sturdy, bold for someone who is unafraid to take risks, plump for well-nourished, and stubborn for stubborn. What if Sagawa is talking about Majima? I mean, clearly Majima holds all those traits, and Sagawa not killing him somehow shows his refrain from proceeding with Shimano's plan. I don't think Sagawa has that much kindness in him, but who knows. In the next scene, Sagawa again tries to show his authority to Majima in the public restroom. And after that, they give Sarah a visit and take a trip to Tokyo. It is in the meeting with Shimano that everything becomes full circle, and we understand they both acted accordingly to Shimano's plan without even knowing about it. And next time he watches the angry Majima in the street, he realizes that Majima has grown, and is no longer the same man he was under his influence, which Sagawa quickly realizes that he can no longer be an authority for Majima. And lastly, when he is having his final talk with Majima, He's very supportive of him, and in my opinion is very proud of how he became in the end. Because, as Majima says, he's tenacity incarnate, and Majima takes this influence to heart with him. In video games, battle with a character can greatly reveal many information about them, and Yakuza series is no exception. But unfortunately, Sagawa has no boss fight, and considering how jacked his actor is, it's a real shame we have no battle against him and cannot talk about his fighting style. Tattoo is also a major theme in these games and can reveal characters' motives or goals, but again, we don't know about Sagawa's tattoo. And lastly, we've seen different examples of how soundtrack reveal about a certain character's lore, like soundtrack in Souls games or any other game for that matter. But since Sagawa lacks a boss fight to begin with, we cannot talk about his soundtrack. Maybe someday in a Yakuza 0 Kiwami, we get to know him better. Thanks for watching this video. The analysis of the characters were a long time coming, and I always wanted to talk about these Yakuza characters that are less popular than the others. My initial plan is to analyze Awano for the next video, but if you have other opinions in mind, please write them in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next video.